Lately, I've been really into just using one single light and more of a moody look to my videos. And so in this video, I want to teach you how I've been getting a completely black backdrop in my videos, both while filming, some of the physical things I need or the lighting tips that I have, along with in the edit, how do you actually make sure that the black is all the way black, all the way down to 0. And so I'm going to talk about that in this video. So the first thing is obviously something behind you that's black. I'm using this muslin kind of material here. This is from Wojcik. It's a 6 foot by 4 foot kind of shape. Basically, you need something black behind you. Ideally something that's not reflective. So that might be something you have to buy at a photo store, but it could also just be a black sheet or something like that. And then you don't need to spend a lot of money, just something that's completely black behind you. If it's got fuzzies on it, try to get rid of the fuzzies, whatever, that can help. The other thing is you're gonna probably wanna use just a single light. I'm using the Aperture 120D here. And one thing that I've done to it that actually really helps from having the light spill onto the background is to put a waffle in it, put a grid in it is what they call it. So if you look at this light here, you'll see it's got that grid on it. It's got the grid on it because that enables you to have it pointed in a specific direction. So the light doesn't spill as much onto the backdrop. It mainly just goes directly where the grid is focused. And I have it kind of pointing past where I sit, kind of right here. I was sitting right here with the microphone and it's past my face. So it's not pointed at the backdrop, it's pointed at me mainly. If you don't have something like that, you might have barn doors on your lights, maybe something like this up here, where you have these barn doors that enable you to kind of direct the light a little bit, or you can flag it, which means basically blocking the light from hitting your background. Just a C100 with a small HD focus on top that enabled me to see that I was in focus and framed properly. And I just have that 120D there, kind of right next to the camera. It's not at a 45-degree angle like it normally would be, but you can see when I'm in this position, the light's actually going past the front of me. So some of it's hitting me, but not a ton of it. Most of it's actually hitting down over there, not onto the background. So as much as possible, trying to get it to just kind of graze the side of my face and not hit the background. So again, here's my view. Basically, if I zoom in, you can see that's my view, completely blacked out with the small HD focus there. And then, just have the light with the grid kind of barely brushing against my face and just have it on autofocus because I'm staying in the middle. So you have it all filmed. You used one light, you had a black backdrop, you separated yourself from it a little bit. The one light is mainly touching only the subject. The light source is kind of going past them and not touching the background as much. Now we need to edit it. So I'm gonna walk over to my desk. We're gonna jump into Adobe Premiere Pro, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I would bring down the black level a little bit to then just make sure that it is completely black and not like gray or too milky. This will just enable you to actually get it all the way down to 0 on the waveform monitor or all the way to the left on the histogram to make sure that it actually is fully black. And this in the edit can kind of fix any mistakes if your backdrop is not completely black or you didn't light it properly or if there's fuzzies back there or what have you. So let's dive into the edit now. So we're at my computer now. I have Premiere Pro open and I have episode 72 of the podcast with Levi Allen, fellow YouTuber, filmmaker. And you can see in this shot here that I made the blacks completely black in the background at the YouTube space that we filmed in. And we were 10, 15 feet away from the actual walls that were black. And I used one single light. Maybe I'll throw in a behind the scenes photo here so you can kind of see what the setup looked like. But when I came back home and I wanted to film in a similar style for my introductions and the outros, because I didn't film those at the YouTube space, this is what I went with. I sat in that exact same spot with the black background behind me with that one single light. And what I did in the color grade is this. So using the Lumetri color panel up here is, the first thing I did was I went to curves typically, and you can, if I uncheck these to show you that there's nothing else on, this is straight Canon log here. If I want to do it with curves, I would take this square and I would drag it down to the right like this until you could see the blacks get blacker. But also I'm watching this line because this line here is the background. This thing here, do I want it to be completely black? Yes, I do. Might drag it further down this way. And then there you go. It's pretty much black at this point. It's already down at 0 on the scopes. But I didn't want to do it that way. I could do it how I did here, which is in basic correction, which would be to actually just lower the shadows and blacks like this. So if I reset it and I'm here in Canon log, what I would do is I would then bring the shadows down, bring the blacks down, and then I'm just watching that scope thing there on the left until the blacks are at a comfortable level there, mostly below 0. Maybe there's still a little bit of information there, but that's about all you need to do, is you're just using the shadows and blacks to bring that part down of the image. And then if I wanted to do more, like boost myself up, I might raise the exposure, might have to bring the black level down a little bit, might saturate it a little bit because this is in Canon log, and it's pretty much done. So it's pretty straightforward to, if you can in your video editing software, take the shadows, take the blacks, bring those down without affecting the midtones and the highlights. Another thing you can use if you have access to something like a monitor is to use false color, or use a false color plugin for Premiere or Final Cut Pro or whatever software you're editing in. So I've been using the Atomos Shinobi monitor for the last week to test it out. It's an HDR monitor, and a lot of monitors like this one or ones from Small HD, they have a false color mode basically that you can switch to, and then you can see different colors like dark purple being what's crushed completely, what's below 0 on your waveform. So I have this plugged into my computer to make sure that the area that was black was completely black and there'd be no data there at all to showcase the visuals in the edit. So using a monitor or using a false color plugin if you don't have a monitor would be another way to kind of get the same effect. That pretty much wraps it up. One light is good, a black backdrop, kind of stay far away from it if you can, and try not to have the light hit too much of it because that'll brighten it up. And then when you bring it into post in the edit, just bring those black levels down and you got it. So hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. If you're curious to listen to the episode with Levi, I'll link it right here, and any of my other YouTube tutorials. It'll probably give a little suggested video here, and you can subscribe to the channel up here. So I've been Caleb Wojcik. Hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. I'm trying to do a little more raw behind the scenes style ones from time to time now. So hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.